Get ready to explore conversations that resonate with TK Ntebe, your trusted voice in personal finance, travel, and lifestyle. The Open Korner podcast is where Africa's brightest minds, thought leaders, and trailblazers come together to inspire change, challenge norms, and spark new ideas.
What if the keys to success in business and in life are beyond just strategy? What if spiritual intelligence plays a big role? In today's episode, we dive deep into the power of vulnerability, spiritual coaching, and business growth with Mamello Phomane, who is a spiritual coach, a healer, and founder of Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness. Hello, fellow trailblazer. Welcome to the Open Korner podcast. My name is Tukiso TK Ntebe, and this show is brought to you by the TKO Network. And of course, we are shooting from our beautiful studio, the TKO Studios in Maseru, Lesotho. Today's episode is really one that I'm very excited about because I believe in spiritual coaching. Well, I'm hoping to venture into that journey, but also to really delve deep into the connection between spirituality, leadership, and hopefully money. So without wasting any more time, please help me welcome my absolutely beautiful guest in studio today, who will obviously introduce herself. Mayor Mamello, good morning and welcome to the Open Korner podcast.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
How are you feeling today?
Let me check in with that. I'm feeling energetic. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm feeling energetic.
I love that.
Yeah.
So let's maybe start with introductions.
Yeah.
Ke
Mamello Phomane, ha eso ke bothabothe magagweng ha lekula, ke Mokoena, ke Lenkopane, ke motho wa bodijwa bo Moselane, ke motho wa ha bodijwa bo Moselane, ke tsamaya le Matebele, andimthim golobongane gazele. Yes. That's who I am. I am the founder of Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness. Ke Ngona Ba Limo. That's why I introduced myself like that. And so I founded this lovely healing and wellness practice called Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness. Yeah.
Icebreakers.
Icebreakers.
Just for us to relax and get into the conversation.
Let's get into it.
A book that you're reading currently.
Sure, I'm reading so many books.
Are you the type of person who reads multiple books at the same time?
I do.
Okay.
I do. It just depends on what's happening in my life and where I feel I need inspiration. I read for inspiration. I read for learning. I read for growth. I read for my job. So I'm currently reading a book by Dan Millman that's about numerology and your life purpose. So there's Dan Millman. I'm reading quite a number of books. Let me see, what else am I reading and listening to, because I also listen to books. I'll remember some of them that I'm reading.
Okay.
But the one that's uppermost in my mind, because I'm reading about the laws of the universe and the laws of spirituality.
The laws of spirituality.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Favorite travel destination currently?
Let me see. I've just come from India. I love traveling. I've just come from India, a place called Rishikesh, which is the spiritual mecca of India. It's in the lowlands, right at the foothills of the Himalayas. Culture shock. At first, when I got there, I was like, I'll never come back to this place. I'll never come back to this place. But I left such a transformed person that I was like, maybe I'll come back. But because I'm such a traveler, I don't necessarily have a favorite destination. Everywhere where I go, I immerse myself in culture.
That's very important. Very important.
Yeah. So it's
A song playing in your car currently?
I was listening to Scott Callum.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, I really wanted us to have a conversation around spirituality, spiritual intelligence, and so much more, right? Particularly when we combine business, leadership, self-mastery, self-awareness, and all that. So I think let's maybe start with, when we talk about spirituality from your perspective, what do we mean? What does that look like? What is spirituality?
from my perspective, I think it's important to say from my perspective,
Yes,
because the
yes.
thing about spirituality is that it is it's open. So you can define what spirituality is for you. It doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be a hard and fast definition to it. But it's really about, we were talking earlier just before we started about the inner compass, my blog. It's about the inner you. It's about being aware of who you are. It's about understanding your values. It's about being aware of how you impact yourself and the world around you. It's about knowing what centers you, what grounds you, and what makes you tick.
What makes you tick?
Yeah. What makes you tick? Yeah.
What makes you tick? I've been asked that question before, and I think it's a very difficult question to answer, at least for me. What makes me tick? Either in the workplace, either in life, either in life in general, just to say what makes you tick. And I think oftentimes it's because I've been so afraid to go into that space and to be vulnerable. So how important is vulnerability in spirituality?
Vulnerability, spirituality, it's pretty much the same thing, because the only way that you know yourself is to be vulnerable with yourself. The only way that you really truly go inwards is to be truthful. And the saying that the truth hurts.
The truth hurts.
The truth hurts. And that's because being vulnerable, at least, is considered as somewhat of a weakness. But actually, vulnerability is a superpower, because vulnerability allows you to be comfortable with who you are. Yeah, it allows you to be comfortable with your inner guru, your inner God, and to be courageous with who you are.
With who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that being courageous is it comes from somewhere. And sometimes people are afraid to embark on that journey. As a spiritual coach, firstly, what do you do as a spiritual coach? If you can just take us through that process. And then how do you help people who are afraid to tap into that space and to become vulnerable, number one, to be with themselves. And number three is to really just allow themselves to transform. So what does a spiritual coach do? What do you do?
What do I do?
Yes.
Well, what I do is to help people to find the sweet spot in terms of your mental health, in terms of your physical health, in terms of your spiritual health and your emotional health. And so really what I do is I help you to go inward, and I give you a structure that allows you to go inward in terms of, who you are and what makes you tick, and what are your limiting beliefs, and, how those limiting beliefs are stopping you or delaying your progress and your transformation, and for you to come into your true self, into your true power, into who you're really meant to be, because we all have a purpose in life, and we just have to figure out what that is. So I have the tools that I use to help you, like, for example, numerology, understanding that whether, through your birth date, whether you're a 1 or a 2 or a 3, and what that means.
Okay.
For example, understanding how you vibrate energetically. So through, like, energy centers, understanding your energy body, and fully aligning with that, and being so connected that when something is off, you are able to say, something is off. What's going on? Listening to your body. When you're nervous, why are you nervous?
What's anxious?
Where are you feeling it in your body? Is it in here, in the pit of your stomach, or is it in here? Where is it? And so, how does that then affect you? So that's what I do.
Sure. Wow. And as you're explaining what you do,
Yeah.
as a financial coach as well,
Yeah.
I see I don't want to say there's an overlap here and there, because coaching is pretty much almost similar. But one of the key things that concern me as a financial coach
Yeah.
is the energy transfer.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes as a coach, yes, you need to be able to filter and block out the energy, but sometimes you absorb people's energy. Does that happen to you as a coach?
A lot. I'm a natural empath. So what does that mean? It means I literally take people's energies, in all manner of ways. Physically, I feel your pain. Emotionally, I feel your emotions, and I that's how I connect as a healer,
Sure.
through my empathetic gift. And so, because I'm a natural empath, I am actually going to be able to go in, get inside your shoes. So I have a process that allows me to disconnect. I've learned to disconnect and come out of that energy. It's why I primarily do online consultations now. I used to do like
In person.
like with my healing practice. I used to do in-person consultations, and client would leave and I'd be sick, because like I'd be sick for days, and then the next client comes and I still haven't disconnected from that
the other
energy.
one.
So I do online consultations primarily because it helps me to keep somewhat of it. I still connect and I can still tell you that your shoulder is sore, and this is what's happening with you. But the disconnection for me happens a little bit easier than when it's a physical consultation, especially when I'm doing
back to back.
Yeah.
I've often felt after a coaching session, financial coaching in my context, is after that session, I need to nap. I need to disconnect. And it's for a while I struggled with that, to say this person has issues around their finances, in particular their debt.
Yeah.
And at night I'll struggle to sleep. I'll be thinking about, how do I help this person? How do I? And at some point I would absorb literally their pain and the emotions and their frustrations.
Yeah.
And it's
so
helping.
we can help you with tools that allow you to to disconnect from that, and ground yourself back to yourself, center yourself back to yourself.
I think I definitely need that. And I think we've had a conversation about that before. I think, was it earlier this year, end of last year?
Yeah, I think it was end of last year.
End of last year, yes. Yeah. When you launched the...
when you came into the shop.
Yes. Which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
I think... talking about that as well, therapy.
Yeah.
You're a big advocate for therapy.
Yes.
And I particularly remember a conversation you had with Ngoan'a on her podcast, The Talking Cure, is you mentioned that you found a therapist that is also a spiritual healer.
Yes.
And you were very excited.
Yeah.
How important is therapy for the ordinary person, but also how has that shaped you as a spiritual coach?
Yeah. Therapy is so critical because when we are in our heads talking to ourselves, we have zero perspective. And so therapy allows someone else to give you perspective, and perspective is critical. Because if you're in your head, you're asking the questions and you're answering yourself, and you're sending yourself in a vicious spiral of giving yourself maybe the wrong responses, or responses that are sending you on a downward spiral. So therapy, coaches, people that can give you a different perspective, that is so important. Mentors, people that you can talk to that can give you a different perspective. And without that, we get depressed, and we get into ourselves. Because I know myself, I'm very good at knowing when I need help. I'm still in therapy, and why I chose somebody that was a traditional healer but also a psychologist was because I didn't want to have to explain myself.
Yes. I would imagine. So.
Yeah. I didn't want to have to. I'm a very unique individual. Traditional healers are very unique individuals, and it takes one to understand one. Yeah. It takes one to understand one. So therapy is critical for perspective, and so that you don't drive yourself into a vicious cycle of, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, limiting beliefs, this. Yeah.
Sure. Talking about being a traditional healer, but who's also been in business or still is in business, I want to shift gears and move into understanding spirituality, spiritual intelligence in the business context, right? Oftentimes when we speak about spirituality and business, people think they're two different worlds.
things. Yeah.
How have you been navigating that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're actually not two different worlds, and I do not know. It's because I think the world has become so transactional. That's why we think they're two separate worlds. But there's EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, and there's IQ, which is your your mental, your intelligence, essentially. EQ plus IQ equals SQ, which is the spiritual quotient. Yeah. So otherwise, where do the two intersect, right? So this is why spirituality features in business. And businesses are about people. There isn't a building that's standing lonely somewhere and it's a business. What makes that business is the people in the business. It is the people that come and get the service, that come and consume the service, right? And so how can there not be spirituality in business when there are people that drive businesses and that consume the solutions that we create as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as organizations? They are solutions for people. Right? So how can there not be spirituality in business? Once we stop seeing business as a transaction and start seeing business as a people thing, then we will understand why spirituality in business matters. Yeah. The thing that brings emotional intelligence and intelligence together is spirituality. That's the sweet spot. That's what the Japanese call the ikigai.
The ikigai, yes. I'm a big fan of the ikigai,
Yeah.
And I actually read the book, The Ikigai, and my thoughts and my approach to life and business and people, engaging with people really, really shifted. Remember, a lot of business leaders are afraid to tap into the spiritual realm. They're afraid to be vulnerable because vulnerability is still seen to be a sign of weakness. You mentioned it earlier on. How important, or how do we help them, leaders of different executives, upcoming managers, people entering the workplace, business owners, like you mentioned? How do we help them appreciate and tap into that space? You mentioned it earlier on, but I wanted to come across very strongly.
I said that it was a superpower. It's actually a superpower. It's not a weakness. Precisely because of what I've just talked about, that EQ plus IQ equals SQ. That's the mathematical formula for spirituality. And there is no spirituality without vulnerability. We unfortunately have subscribed to the boxes that have been defined for us. And the thing about spirituality is that it has no boxes. And this is why there's a difference between spirituality and religion. Religion tells you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. With spirituality, it's about the inner guru. It's about the inner God and what feels right. Of course, within the confines of the fact that an organization that is set up because it needs to achieve a particular vision. The question is in the how. The question is in how you mobilize people to follow the vision and to implement the vision. And this is where vulnerability come in. As a leader, I've always been vulnerable. I, as an empath, emotions are how I operate. It is my inner guru. It is my inner God. And because I've never been afraid of being myself. To be a healer in business, you have no choice but to be courageous.
Sure.
Because already, you're already showing up in a space that is traditionally not your perceived as your space. So you gotta be courageous, and you have to show up courageously. It's inherent in who I am. And so I've never been afraid to show up as myself. I've never been afraid to let people be and to let myself be. I've found that I get the best results when I'm like that. I get the worst results when I go by the books.
Sure.
Yeah, by the the structured
the matrix.
way. Yeah, the matrix. When I walk within the matrix and I work within the matrix, as long as that matrix does not speak to who I am and does not speak to my values, does not speak to my passion, and does not speak to how I want to do things, that's when things go wrong for me. And so because energetically I'm very connected, I'm very quick to realize that's not working. It works better when I do this. So I stick to what works for me from experience and from how I operate. So I think that really, to your question, the vulnerability is important in leadership. One of my favorite books or authors that I love is Dr. Brené Brown, that has
redefined.
Redefined vulnerability. She's got her TED talk on vulnerability. She's got a whole host of books around leading and leading with vulnerability, and it works. In one of my articles, I talk about a pivotal moment for me in 2016 when I'd gone on this leadership course, and I found myself. I found my true self there. And it was at a leadership course. So how can leadership and spirituality not intersect?
True.
How can they not intersect?
Wow. So you also do business executive coaching.
Yes.
Let's maybe talk about how you, particularly when I go back to your most recent post on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
You should check out her LinkedIn page. It is loaded with nuggets of wisdom when it comes to leadership. You spoke about gender equality in the workplace.
Yes.
I know we didn't discuss it, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it is such an important thing, especially for female executives, new female executives who are getting into the workplace, into leadership positions. We're talking about vulnerability, we're talking about being your true self, and we're talking about leadership. As Memame, who is a businesswoman and a leader, who's also an executive coach, how do you work with women leaders who are feeling like they don't belong, who feel like their male counterparts get more recognition, get more attention, and all that?
Yeah, so I also do executive coaching aside from being a spiritual coach. And I'm actually excited. My website is launching.
Oh my God.
Week.
We will definitely plug it into the show notes.
My website is launching next week. And, young women, young people that want leadership coaching, they can go in there. And I've actually, mapped it, in terms of your path as a leader. So I've got beginners, I've got seasoned executives.
Yes, that's wonderful.
So I have a leadership, a seasoned executive coaching package. I've got a beginner.
This is so exciting.
Coaching package, and I've also got entrepreneurs coaching package as well.
Oh my God.
So again, it's tapping into who you are. It's tapping into your inner God, your inner guru. It's understanding your values. It is understanding what makes you tick. It is understanding how you show up energetically. But it is also understanding and creating an intention about how you do want to show up, about how you do want to lead, about how you want to impact and influence the environment that you're in, that you work in, and how we then align your intention with who you are, your inner guru, and then create goals that can allow you to be intentional about. Because leadership, when it's intentional, is beautiful.
And I love just to jump in, I love the use of the word intention.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times people do things, but the intent is not very well articulated.
Yeah.
Their intention is not there at all. They just do things. So when you speak about intention, I get very excited because,
Yeah, because and the spirituality is all about intention.
Mhm.
Everything that we do is about intention. As a healer, everything is about intention. As a coach, everything is about intention. What is my intention? And we go from there. As when I set up Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness, the intention was and is still to really help people, to help organization to transform by applying spiritual principles, by applying by tapping into ancestral wisdom and using what is inherently within our genetic makeup, within our makeup as Africans, as people, as women, as men, and tap into that because it's already there. You don't have to go somewhere and buy it and get it. It is already within you. And really what I do is just to unlock and allow you to be able to take a peek in there and see where the opportunities are and what you can then utilize to help you in your intention and to help you in the goals that you want to achieve in life, as long as there's alignment, because spirituality is also about alignment. It's about harmony.
Yeah.
And because we struggle because we're misaligned. We're out of alignment. And so my job as a coach, as a healer, is to help you to find alignment. Yeah.
Talking about alignment, Mame, I want to take a quick break. And after the break, we're going to talk about Ke Ngona Ba Limo healing and wellness. And before that, we're going to plug a video into this conversation just to give a highlight of what Ke Ngona Ba Limo is all about and how you can start your transformative journey. Before I do that, these beautiful couches are proudly sponsored by Florida Manufacturing Solutions. They were kind enough to help us sponsor these beautiful couches for today's conversation. So if you want more information about how you can get yourself a beautiful couch for your home, your office, and everything else in between, I'll plug all the details in the show notes below. And of course, they're situated in Maseru, Hahotlo. I'll plug all the details in the show notes below. We'll be back in a short bit to talk about Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness Center. And of course, remember that this show is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So be sure to head over there, leave a review, leave a comment, leave a question, and let us know what you think about today's episode. We'll be back shortly.
Ke Ngona Ba Limo is a healing and wellness center. It offers holistic services to people that are wellness enthusiasts, to people that are looking to embark on a spiritual journey, to people that just want to grow and live a well-balanced life. We offer a whole range of services as well as products. We have a metaphysical store that offers all manner of spiritual tools, such as your candles, your incense, your crystals, all for healing and for living a well-balanced life.
Welcome back to the second half of this conversation where we're talking about spiritual intelligence, business, and healing with the one and only Mamello Phomane, who is a spiritual coach, healer, and a business executive business coach. Yes. So before we went to the break, and as we segue into talking about Ke Ngona Ba Limo, we touched a bit on your blog on LinkedIn, the inner compass.
Yeah.
So for people who are trying to find their purpose, particularly in the workplace or in life in general, let's maybe talk about what the inner compass is and why they should subscribe to the blog.
Yeah. So the Inner Compass is a newsletter blog on LinkedIn that will ultimately become a podcast.
I love it.
Watch this space.
I love it. So for me, Bella, when I hear podcasts, as somebody who's been in the space, I get so excited. Excited because I believe that if there's ever a time for the Lesotho market in particular, the Southern African, the African continent, we need to deliver content that is created by Africans, because we have such rich, empowering educational stories that will resonate with us as Africans. So I'm very excited about that.
And also because podcasting, I think it's very personal.
It's very personal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
People hear you talking, they can engage with,
they can connect with you.
Connect with you. Sometimes we're not all necessarily readers. We're not necessarily all good readers.
Good readers.
Yeah. So on the inner compass, I share, advice, nuggets, and really my experiences as a leader, and just to help others to hopefully see themselves, find themselves in there. And it's the inner compass. The reason it's the inner compass is because I want to pass the message that you are the truth. Who you are and what you are and how you show up is the truth.
How you show up.
It is your truth. And so you need to rely on your inner compass. One of the reasons that we're such an unhappy society is because we've become so disconnected. First of all, we've become disconnected from ourselves, and we've become disconnected and disengaged with each other as people, as human beings. And the inner compass is geared at bringing you back to yourself, because it's about aligning your passion, it's about aligning your purpose, and also bringing in leadership to that passion and to that purpose. So it's really about you discovering your inner guru as a leader, your inner God, and finding ways to listen to that, finding ways to connect with that inner guru, and to understand how that inner guru operates and how that inner guru can be your true north star. Yeah.
And talking about showing up, I love that a lot, is when I look at your LinkedIn, you are very intentional about how you look. How important is branding in setting the intention, particularly, how important is being mindful about how we show up? Because I feel like a lot of people also, in pursuit of the next level, in pursuit of climbing the corporate ladder, is they're not very intentional about how they show up in terms of the dress code. You don't have to necessarily wear designer clothing, but how important is your personal brand in navigating and finding your inner campus?
It's very critical. It's very critical. Earlier, we talked about intention. Intention is everything. When you show up unintentionally, we can tell. When you show up unintentionally, it's why it will be easy for the gods of opinions to be able to sell you, oh, yeah, but you don't look good, or today you look good, and then you don't know what it is that how you actually want to show up. So intention is critical in terms of how you show up and the kind of energy you want to put out there about yourself, about your brand. For personal branding, for branding as an executive, for branding as a leader, for branding as anything that you are and that you want to do. The intention, what intention do you want to create? What is the message that you are trying to put out there about who you are as a person, and so it requires a lot of courage. It requires a lot of vulnerability, but it requires the inner work of going inward and knowing who you are. And therefore, if you know this is who you are, these are your values, and you show up in alignment with who you are, with your values, with your intention. I have a young lady that's helping me, and she's very creative. God, she's amazing. She gives me so much energy, but her way of dressing and showing up is completely different from mine.
Who is this lady? You mentioned her if she's comfortable with that.
Miss Tato Marumo.
Oh, okay.
Miss Tato Marumo. So on Friday we discussed, when she left me, we discussed the outfit. And she's like, no, I think this is perfect.
Sure.
And yeah, so she left and I was like, I like it. I mean, it's my outfit, but it's not how I want to show up at the podcast.
Sure.
And so, I sat with it and I was like, this is not who I am in terms of this podcast and how I want to show up. So maybe if I was going out for a date night.
Sure. Now I'm curious.
This would work beautifully. But But for this podcast, this is how I want to show up. So really, because this is why, her opinion matters to me, because she's brilliant and she's my assistant. She's helping me. But the inner guru in me said that's not how I want to show up. So that's why I wanted to give you that example. It could have been easy for me to just, use her choice of outfit because, she is my assistant and I value her opinion. But the inner guru and her choice were not in alignment for this particular podcast. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's somebody who is listening to this conversation and they're feeling some type of way and they're looking for healing. They're looking for guidance. They are looking for the next step to take, what do I do practically? So this brings us to Ke Ngona Ba Limo, healing and wellness.
Yeah.
First and foremost, congratulations for
you.
launching. I remember in December, I was so excited. I had champagne, sparkling wine at the store opening situated at Maseru Mall. Let's maybe talk about Ke Ngona Ba Limo. Let's get into it. What is it? How do people work with it, work with you, and all of that?
Yeah. So it's really a holistic center. So the store that we launched in December, that is at Maseru Mall, is one aspect of it. Because in the store, what we do is we sell spiritual tools.
Okay.
Incense, candles, smudges, everything that spiritual people use as tools in their spiritual practice. Healers use, that anybody that wants to start a spiritual journey or that wants to find themselves, that's what we're there for in the store. But Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness is a center that is holistic, that provides not only the spiritual tools in the shop, but that also provides services such as spiritual life coaching. We do consultations. I do Oracle. I use Oracle cards to do consultation, different kinds of consultations. If you want a business success reading, I can do a reading for that. If you want a general life reading, I can do a reading for that. If you want a love and relationships, I can do a reading for that. Home energy overview. It really just depends on you. But I've got about 10 consultations that I do. Career success, to help you find, what's happening or what's not happening in your career. And then is the coaching aspect as well, and it's the educational aspect as well. What I do is still in the realm of the unknown. So a lot of what I do needs to be nurtured through education. Yeah. So that's why I was so happy when you called. Because I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what I do.
Sure.
So Ke Ngona Ba Limo Healing and Wellness is to provide healing to individuals, is to provide guidance to individuals, to groups, about how they can transform their lives for them to live a much more holistic life, to have sustainable success by living a holistic and aligned life. And we do that through, just really delving into your life, into yourself, and finding ways and means that are unique to you.
Unique to me.
Unique to you, in terms of how you can get on this journey of transforming your life. There is also corporate leadership coaching as well, where I do executive coaching for leaders, leaders in training, leaders that want to, get into leadership, young people that want to get into leadership positions, young executives that want to get into leadership positions. And there's going to be a lot of education as well.
A lot of education.
Workshops, classes, master classes. I'm actually have one that's starting next week.
Oh, fantastic.
On Wednesday. It's an 8-week group coaching journey where I'm taking a group of people through a journey on their chakras, energy centers, and how, understanding that, and understanding how your shadow shows up. And we're going to do shadow work, we're going to do shadow journaling, we're going to do affirmations, we're going to do visualizations in this 8 weeks, aligning ourselves to the 7 chakras. Yeah.
Sure. And I remember walking into the store at the launch and I was looking at the candles and I literally lit up one of the candles. I think it was a color green that spoke about
Abundance.
Yes.
Wealth.
I think, wealth.
Money.
Yes. That's exciting. So you mentioned there's a lot of misconceptions. Let's maybe touch on those misconceptions and clarify them. A lot of people have a worker, these spiritual coaches, traditional healers. What are some of those myths that are not necessarily true?
Yeah. Maybe the first one that quickly comes to mind is that people think they have to stop praying their God when they access my services. They think, oh, jwale ha ke sa tlo rapela. Like, no. There's spirituality, unlike religion, does not put you in a box. Yeah. I as a traditional healer, I use I access ancestral wisdom from my ancestors that guide me. I have an entire entourage of guides, consisting of ancestors, consisting of angels. And so it is what it is for me, and it is what it can be for you depending on who you are. It's unique. So you don't have to stop praying. You don't have to misalign yourself to your God. If you're a Catholic, you can still go to church. When you use my services, if you're Protestant or Kedafora, you can still go there and use and pray. So that's the first thing. They think that there is a misalignment with their religion. Zero misalignment. Everything is aligned there. So that's one thing. I think maybe one of the other misconceptions is that maybe it's for certain people only. It's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, I'm an energy healer. I'm a spiritual healer. Spirituality is about everything and everybody that feels like they need those services. If you don't feel like you can access my services, you're not ready for my services.
Sure.
It's not that, it's not for you. It's just that you're not ready.
You're not ready.
Yeah, it's not your time yet.
And it's okay to not be ready. It's okay not to be ready.
Yeah, it's okay to have perceptions and opinions about what I do. It's okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
What is the rest of... We are now in March.
Yeah.
And firstly, this is the first episode of the Open Korner podcast. So I'm very honored to have you as the first guest.
I love that.
By the way, this podcast will come out. For now, I'll drop one episode per month because I've got all the other many podcasts that are happening. So this will be the first one. Very busy.
Yeah.
And talking about busy, my energy, we need to consult about my energy levels and
okay,
energy
we can
coaching.
do that.
Yeah. So, but what does the rest of 2025 and beyond look like for you as Mamello, for Ke Ngona Ba Limo, and for all the things that you're doing?
Yeah. So as I said, my website is launching next week, and that's a critical aspect of how people can reach me and can access my services. And then next is setting up my healing practice, which is going to be at Masoe, just down the road from where I live. So the healing practice is where people can come to access. I do Reiki as well. I do sound healing. In fact, that's why I was in India. I was learning sound healing. Sound healing, we use Tibetan singing bowls for therapy, for healing, like ailments, physical ailments, energetic imbalances, all of that. So I'm setting up my healing practice at Masoe, where my office is going to be, and where I'll be coaching from, where I'll be doing all my sessions from, and it's going to be an office and a herbal apothecary, because I'm also a herbalist as well. So that's what it's looking like. So after that, it's really just getting the healing practice up and running and working. And but for me, this year is also a lot about I'm still in quite a lot of transition and transformation in terms of spiritual growth. So I'm also just aligning to that and aligning
alignment.
Aligning to the call of my guides in terms of what to do and where I'm going. Watch the space. A lot of workshops, a lot of online coaching, a lot of the podcast that I talked about. And so I'm excited to learn from you. I'm excited
Happy to share.
This is why I'm saying, please,
Happy
can
to
you
share.
can you do that masterclass?
I definitely will.
On podcast,
I'm committing.
because I'm going to be your first.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm committing on that.
Yeah,
I have a
please do
few
that.
people. I have a few people who I am holding accountable.
Yeah.
So it's you.
Yeah.
It's Lerato Mpaka. It's a few other people that
Yeah.
I will not put on blast yet.
Yeah.
But for now, because I know the two of you are intentional about your podcast, I'm more than happy to share.
So I'm so excited to learn from you about that.
I'm excited.
You know, when
well.
you have experience and you put out that energy of teaching people about what it is, that's good energy.
And I feel after every conversation, I feel so energized.
Yeah.
I feel so excited. So I'm definitely excited about that.
So put up the masterclass.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
Before end of April.
So that I can then set up my podcast.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think just before, there's a question that popped up and I thought it's important to ask. You mentioned that you just came back from India where you were learning and training. Oftentimes, particularly young people do not want to invest
in themselves,
in the development, in their businesses, in their brand. Just before we close the conversation, how important is it to spend money? Yes, unemployment is high. Yes, there's all these challenges, but how important is it to invest in yourself and in the business or the brand that you're building?
Oh God, I cannot overemphasize this enough. It is critical. It is critical. If you do not, we said we need to do a conversation about the energy of money. Yeah.
No, definitely. that is coming on the other podcast.
We need to do that. So it is so critical. I mean, you know, we were talking earlier about how young people don't know what goes behind the scenes with what we do. The amount of work that we do in learning and equipping ourselves with, I mean, there's no way I'm going to do a coaching session with people and I have not invested in myself in terms of how I'm going to impart knowledge and the knowledge that I'm going to impart.
And the quality of
the knowledge. Because that is energy. So again, it's about the intention with your brand. Do you want your brand to be associated with quality? Do you want how you show up to be associated with quality? So that is really the fundamental question. So for me, it is critical. And because I am guided and I didn't choose India and Rishikesh, my guides chose it for me to go there and do sound healing there. But it's because I knew that I needed to go and do it. And, you know, the money is, the energy of the money that has gone into my training is going to, because energy is constantly vibrating and it's in flow, right? It's going to flow right back to me.
Oh, I love that.
It's going to flow right back to me.
I love
because it has been employed in a course that has equipped me with the ability to continue to put out energy to other people, to educate, to heal, to transform. And so that is energy flow. This is why I want us to talk about the energy of money.
Absolutely.
Because there's a really serious misconception about saving and, you know, money. And yeah, we want to save, but how is the money being employed?
Yeah.
What is the money doing?
Oh my God. I love the alignment. The Open Korner podcast, my Money Adventures podcast, the TKO network.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
So to round it off, you gotta read. You've gotta, you know, I you know, this tool is one of the most important tools that the modern life has provided for us.
Sure.
And we do not use it nearly as well as we should be using to equip ourselves with knowledge, with power, with, you know, we should read, we should do online courses, we should
do everything. Listen to podcasts.
We should listen to podcasts.
Listen to podcasts.
If you don't read, you know, do Audible. If you listen to the book.
And sometimes it's only 10 minutes.
Sometimes it's 10 minutes.
10 minutes of...
one of the things I stopped doing last year, early last year in January, I was like, I miss reading, but I don't have time, to pick up a book. But I spend so much time between home and going to work. So I intentionally stopped listening to the news.
Quite negative sometimes. Drains
Very
your
negative.
energy, yeah.
It drained my energy for days. And I was like, why am I listening to this? And so in the car, I'm listening to a book. And I just was reading like this.
And the traffic just goes.
And and I don't even feel the traffic anymore. I'm not even upset at the 4+1 guy cutting in front of me anymore, because I'm just focused and I'm listening to wonderful books. I'm listening to nuggets of information. I'm learning so much. I listened to 10x is easier than 2x.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And, I listened to so much, and, it just completely changed last year for me, being connected and learning and investing in myself. So it is important. It is fundamental to invest in yourself. It is fundamental to invest money in yourself. A young lady that does workshops, one day she'd done an advert, and I think she had said, what do they say when they show the money that you're going to spend? There's a term that they use, and I called and I said, no, change that, make it investment in yourself,
or damage. No, it's
yes,
a damage.
yes.
The damage is.
Yes, was it the damage is? And I'm like, no, please change that. It's not a damage.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. People that are coming to consume your wonderful knowledge that you're sharing, they are investing in themselves.
That is powerful.
So, please change that word. That is a negative word. And it's not, it's creating this thing, because a lot of us, we don't want to invest. We don't want to. This is why we say something is expensive.
It's expensive.
For me, no cost is expensive. No, everything is affordable, as long as I understand the value.
The value of it.
Yeah. This is the thing about money as well. Money and value. Yeah. Alignment. Yeah. Money and so that's what we'll talk about when we talk about the energy of
I look forward to that conversation.
Money. Yeah.
I was chatting to a friend, James Majika, and I was telling him how excited I am to talk about this conversation, but also about that conversation as well. So stay tuned to the TKO network, where we bring you everything life, business, entrepreneurship, finance, and not sometimes, travel as well. So you've been listening to the Open Korner podcast. This show is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Do not be shy to leave a comment, a review, and let us know what you think of this conversation and how you are navigating your own purpose and finding alignment with, or balancing your chakras, actually, finding your chakras. I'll leave all the I'll link all the details regarding Ke Ngona Ba Limo and Mamello's different touch points and her website that she's launching in the next few days, so that you can engage with her. A big shout out to Florida Manufacturing Solutions for the beautiful couches. We hope to see many more of these going forward. And a big shout out to my creative team behind the camera, Matsuso Photography, for always showing up on time and delivering quality work. And of course, on the audio is Biza Street Inc., making sure that the podcast version of it, the audio on this video, is top tier. And a big thank you to me, to Giso, TK, and Tebe, for always giving amazing conversation and investing in myself and the podcast, so that you can enjoy the benefits of these amazing conversations and the guests that I'm honored to have. But for me to be able to do that, you need to show us some support by smashing the subscribe button and always engaging and sharing with it, so that we grow the TKO network and, of course, the Trailblazer community. Until the next one, we will see you very soon on the Open Korner podcast. Do not be shy to check out our other podcast, My Money Adventures podcast, and, of course, Escapes with TK, where we talk everything travel, lifestyle, and adventure. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.